Sippo, why is your homework unfinished?
Pareto principle, or the law of vital few, states that for many outcomes, roughly 80% of consequences come from 20% of causes. The education system has adopted a teaching method based on this concept, however, with disastrous consequences, because it recommends that teachers to contribute only 20% and leave 80% burden of study responsibility to inexperienced learners. According to the education system, learners who attained a year mark above 50% stands a chance to pass or qualify for supplementary examination. However, learners with year mark below 50% will have to study hard to pass or fail. In this way, we can conclude that a teaching method based on Pareto principle contributes to failing of learners because teachers teach them little to increase their chances to accumulate good year mark that will enable them to pass at the end of the year.
Social media jokes. There are plenty of jokes in social media about education. However, behind these jokes, there is a serious problem, showing that learners are being taught very little, according to a teaching method based on Pareto principle, that say teachers are supposed to teach learners only 20% and another 80% is responsibility of uneducated learners. Teachers give learners piles of homework and tell them to ask family members at home to assist them with homework. However, not all learners are advantaged to have educated family members. These learners who cannot find assistance come back to school with unfinished homeworks and sometimes copy out of desperation. And this is how some learners get left behind with their studies. They accumulate low year marks and possibly, they will fail, because teachers who are officially hired to teach them, are contributing very little 20% on their education and leave burden to teach them to people who are not hired to teach them. Irony with this teaching method is that a teacher who has knowledge and experience will teach learners only 20% and leaves 80% of studying responsibility to an inexperienced learner. This is utterly unfair for teaching learners in basic education. Learners fighting teachers in school. We have heard of cases of learners who bring dangerous weapons to schools, and also heard of learners who fight teachers in classrooms. More than 30 years back, while I come into high school, there was a principal who used to call learners monkeys. Then I moved on into Standard 9, and there was a geography teacher who used to get into altercations with learners, and another business economics teacher would physically beat learners, and learners in the classroom would fearfully cower into submission, because even a principal would always defend these abusive teachers. Today corporal punishment has been abolished in educational institutions. However, there are teachers who are using psychological punishment as replacement of corporal punishment. We must understand that mockery is a form of psychological attack intended to humiliate someone. Some teachers like to mock learners for different reasons in the classroom, and when other learners laugh at them, some of these learners angrily go and fight the teachers who made such offensive jokes about them. In 2022, in South Africa, the family of a grade 9 learner who committed suicide after being mocked by a teacher over his sexuality in front of the whole class took legal action against PJ Similane Secondary School. In psychology, there is a defense mechanism concept called flight or fight. Learners no longer drop out of schools for fear of being abused by teachers or bullied by other learners, but they confront their abusers and fight back. When these incidents come out in public, we quickly condemn the fighting learners and think those who were attacked were victims. We fail to ask a simple question about who provoked these learners into temporary insanity behavior. We, as public, we are failing to read between the lines to understand what is happening here. Some teachers who used to beat learners cannot do that anymore, and now they use mockery to humiliate them. Deteriorating quality of education. The teaching method based on Pareto principle is suitable for learners in tertiary education level. There is an irrefutable proof that the teaching method based on Pareto principle is failing our learners in basic education. In the past, we saw radios and television airing education supplement programs for different subjects, because they were trying to empower these failing learners who are being neglected by education system and teachers in schools. William MacDonald Smith was a South African science and mathematics teacher, best known for his maths and science lessons on television, who helped to improve learners' academic performance in South Africa. However, The same cannot be said about the basic education minister who has been in office for 13 years, and lowered the pass rate to below 40%, and mathematics literacy to 20%. After 12 years, learners will finish basic education hardly taught anything meaningful. Passing at 40% literally means learners failed with 60%, and that makes the certificate worthless. Important subjects like vocational guidance are no longer taught in schools. We can see this by shoddy application letters they write when looking for employment. A curriculum vitae, or CV, is one of the documents a job seeker will be asked to present whenever seeking employment. All job seekers need to have an updated CV as potential employers use it to know their qualifications and experience. Anyone can use a CV template downloaded from internet websites to create a curriculum vitae within minutes. However, some of the job seekers would download curricula vitae templates and do poor editing, which will disadvantage them in terms of hiring.
Restoring quality education in basic education. The late Nelson Mandela said, "Education is the most potent weapon you can use to change the world." However, the Pareto principle contradicts what he said. The Minister of Basic Education in South Africa once appeared on national television, insultingly calling failing learners slow learners, while the truth is that education system was the one responsible for high rate of failures because they were teaching these failing learners very little. The teaching method based on Pareto principle must be abolished in basic education department. This teaching method is only suitable for advanced learners in tertiary level of education. As remedial measure, a new 50-50 teaching method must be introduced. A new 50-50 teaching method will require learners to be taught 50%. Later another 50% will be implemented through corrective or revision teaching of what was taught. From psychological perspective, it is known that a mind will retain only 50% of 100% content is being taught. Only through repetitive teaching will what is being taught be completely understood by the mind. Some academic professionals think that homework is an opportunity for children to learn and for parents to be involved in their children's education. However, teaching a child is not the responsibility of a parent but a teacher. Teachers are the ones who are officially hired to teach learners, and therefore, they must stop offloading their teaching responsibilities to the parents who are neither professionally nor trained to teach learners. It costs parents extra money to hire private tutors to help children achieve excellent academic results. One grade 1 teacher in a school called Reitemela, found in the town of Kroonstad, Free State Province in South Africa, defended her inability to teach grade 1 learners by quoting this teaching method. It is inappropriate for teachers to use this teaching method based on Pareto principle to grade 1 to 4 learners because they are still immature to think objectively. It's been more than 30 years since I completed my basic education. However, I still remember one teacher telling us about this teaching method, saying that they, as teachers, are only supposed to teach learners only 20%, and 80% of the study work must be done by learners. At that time, I knew nothing about a concept called Pareto principle. Today I am a parent and it disappoints me to realize that the education system has not changed but it is still using this controversial teaching method in basic education even though it creates many failing and few passing learners. After leaving school with no chance of going into universities, these youth just continue to aggravate a bottleneck situation of unemployment. Politicians stealing credit and limelight. There is ludicrous irony about the authorities. When learners who studied hard under challenging circumstances achieve success, we will see the teachers, the principals and ministers of education being the first ones to steal the success limelight, like as if they were the one who taught these learners to achieve that success. Meanwhile, the truth is that the government's education policies were making learners studying miserable. They will take photos alongside these brilliant learners. However, nothing will be said about the private tutors, or parents who were making sacrifices for their children to pass when the education system was implementing the controversial teaching method based on Pareto principle which recommended that teachers should contribute a mere 20% to learners' studies.
Conclusion. Pareto principle teaching method creates toxic social mindset of heroes and villains amongst learners. Passing learners will feel heroic, while failing learners feel demoralized like defeated villains and will keep changing schools to avoid embarrassment. There are no parents who loves their children becoming failures. Likewise, every subject teacher wishes that learners who take their subjects as major subjects could only achieve best results and nothing else. However, teachers in schools are compelled to teach according to the curriculums designed by the Department of Education through its education policies. Therefore, we as society, we must work together to persuade the government to make better education policies that will benefit our children's future, and not make them failures who are going to be forced out of mainstream education system by inferior early exit certificates equivalent to Standard 7 testimonials. Let us work together to persuade Education Department to eradicate teaching method based on Pareto principle in basic education schools. We do not have to go through the similar fate created by Hendrik Verwoerd's Bantu education policies that deprived black people opportunities to get better education and made them parents of today who have little education and subservient to the white people. Remember, our children are parents of tomorrow, and we must work hard today to ensure a better tomorrow for our future generation. Students in universities know how to fight for their own battles to get better education. However, learners in basic education are still minors whose rights must be protected by parents.
I wanted to be a paramedic. I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a health worker. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a legal practitioner. However, as long as Pareto principle is implemented in basic education, I do not see the possibility of my dreams becoming true. This is Planet 7965 video. Please subscribe and share. Thank you.